What's up everyone? I have been very busy creating motion graphics for work. And in today's video, I want to break down my top 5 most used expressions in After Effects. Expressions will allow you to level up your motion graphics. So let's dive in with the first one. The first one we're going to be checking out is how to count up to any number. As you can see here at the top right, we have a specified number and the animation will start from 0 all the way to the specific number. You can also use this expression on trim paths to create these animated lines that count up to a specified percent. But let's start with the basics. Just create a composition and then right click in your timeline and click New Text. And we're just going to type 100. You don't really need to type anything because we're going to change it later. And go to a line. We're going to align this to the center. And now let's click this down arrow on text. And now we have source text. But we need to get the expression. Click the link in the description down below and you'll get access to my free After Effects expressions cheat sheet. So click the down arrow on the count up to specific number, highlight all of this and copy it. Back into After Effects, let's Alt or Option click on source text and paste that in there and just click away. You'll see that this project contained an expression error. And that's because this end count thing right here, there is no layer named controls and there is not a slider on that layer. And this is because I typically like creating a control layer so that all my expressions can link to that one layer so I can manage it there. However, for the sake of this tutorial, let's just simply type in 500 right there and you'll instantly see that this number will count from 0 to 500. Now you can change that number to whatever you want. You can also change the duration to let's say 2 seconds. And as described in the little description up here, you can change some parameters. So if we do time -1, it will wait 1 second right here before it starts. So that's how you can kind of delay this if you need to delay it at all. You can also change linear to ease right here. So ease will actually smooth this out. So it goes pretty fast and then it slows down a little bit right before it gets to the end right here. Why would I recommend creating a null layer or a control layer for this? Well, we can't really make this a motion graphic because if we select this composition, we can't have anything to pull from that we can edit up here. So I typically like to right click down here, new, null object, name this controls or control, whatever you like doing. And we're going to go to Effects, drag on slider control to our controls right here, go down to Effects, and let's rename this slider count up, right? Click the down arrow right there, go back into our source text expression, highlight that 500, delete it, and click this pick whip, and let's pick whip up to that slider control right there. You'll see that it says this comp layer controls, that's this, effect count up, that's this, slider. So now we can drag this slider into our central graphics so we can start modifying this. So anywhere I drag that, it'll count up to that specific number by that count duration. Now you can do the same thing for the count duration if you wanted to add that as a parameter up here. You can also change the range. So we can edit this range from 0 to whatever number we want. Like if we want to count up to 5,000, then sweet. Any number that I pick in there, this will count up to that specific number. Now I want to show you how to apply it to a line. So let's click the pen tool up here at the top and simply click over here and click over here. And let's make a little straight line like this. If you don't see the stroke like this, simply click stroke at the top and choose solid color and then change your stroke thickness. Now click down on this down arrow and click add trim paths. If we go into trim paths, you'll see that if we change the end offset, we can go from 0 to 100% and that will make us go to the right. And if we change our start, that will do the opposite. So you can play around with these what you need. But what we can see is that 0 to 100 are numbers and we can use this to our advantage. Click Option or Alt on that stopwatch and let's paste in that expression. Again, you can change end count to whatever number you want from 0 to 100. Or in this case, let's just drag a slider control onto our controls layer because that is how I like to stay organized. And let's change this slider control to trim paths. And you'll notice that our expression updated automatically. And let's change the count duration to 3 seconds so it happens a little bit faster. And now we can drag our trim paths up here and we don't need to change the range because it's 0 to 100 already. So now, if I click anywhere here, this should go about 40% of the way to the right. But it stops pretty harshly, and that's because it's on linear. I'm probably just going to change this expression to start on ease because I think ease looks better. So now any number that you select on this trim path, it will cause that trim path to end at that specified number. The next expression I want to show you is how to auto resize a shape around a text layer. So whenever you change the length of the text, the shape will automatically resize to stay behind the text layer. You can also change the margin to change how thick the actual bounding box of the shape layer is. Right click and let's create a text layer. I'm also going to align this to the center of my composition, just like so. And let's right click down here, new shape layer. And you can just click anywhere, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be around your text layer. Now let's change the fill to a color that we like, and we can just delete the stroke. We don't need the stroke for this example. All we have to do is head on over to our handy dandy cheat sheet and drop down on auto resize shape around text box. You can see right here in the description it says place on rectangle path size, change name to text layer name. Now that we're back in After Effects, let's go to our shape layer, drop down on rectangle path, Alt or Option click on size, paste that expression, and let's fix the error. Let's change name to whatever our text layer is. It's called Kyler Holland, and voila. Well, you may be saying to yourself, this doesn't really work. And that's because we need to adjust our anchor point. A quick fix for this is actually type in lock anchor point and drag that onto our shape layer. And that will lock it to the middle center. Let's also drag our shape layer beneath our text layer. And as you can see, whenever I change my text layer, the shape will always stay behind it. Now that's a quick fix. However, if you start to move your text layer around, your shape layer will not actually follow it. So what you can do is you can click P on both of these and quick whip the position of the shape layer to the position of your text layer. But again, the anchor point's all messed up. So we're gonna want to actually lock anchor point again on Kyler Holland, so that way everything stays the same. Now, you should do the same thing for scale by clicking S, just click and drag that to your text layer. Any parameter that you want to change, you will pick whip from your shape layer to your text layer. So now you can create a quick and easy lower third if you like. Please subscribe. This can get really complex when you start doing left align and right align stuff. So if you want a deeper dive on just this specific topic, let me know down in the comments. This next one is probably my second most used expression, and it's simply a checkbox. A checkbox allows you to enable or disable certain parameters. Let's create two text layers for this example. And new text layer, subscribe. Now they're on top of each other, and we don't really want that. So all I need to do is create my control layer. So right click, new, no object. Let's type this controls, and let's go to effects and preset and type checkbox control and drag that onto our control layer. Click the down arrow, go to effects, checkbox control, and let's say subscribe on/off. So subscribe is going to be our main one. So think of this as our regular, right? And Kyler Holland will be the opposite one. So let's click T to bring up the opacity. You'll see under checkbox control, we have a regular and an opposite. Basically, this means they do the opposite. So the opposite works as in if you have the box checked, it will actually not show up. So let's copy the regular one and go back into After Effects. Let's Alt or Option click on our opacity stopwatch and simply paste. And then let's change the effect name right here to whatever our control effect says. So that's subscribe on off. So now you'll see that if I drag this expression checkbox control up into our central graphics window, if I click on, that will make the subscribe on. But when it's on, I actually want Kyler Holland to be off. So let's click T on that opacity, Alt or Option click on our stopwatch. We can copy that from our cheat sheet, but we can also just copy this right here, paste that, and do 100 minus that expression, because that will actually disable Kyler Holland when this is on. So now you have a quick little toggle button for turning things on or turning things off. I've already done a full breakdown on this next one, but it's awesome, so I have to show you it. It's basically an auto resize text thing. So no matter how long your text layer is, it will automatically resize to your set parameters. We're gonna keep working with our composition that we already have. So all I have to do is go to any text layer that you want, click S to bring up scale, and let's head over to our cheat sheet. Under auto resize text, we're gonna highlight everything, and as you can see, it says put on text layer scale. Alt or option click on the little stopwatch and paste that bad boy right there. As you can see, our text layer moved a little bit, but not much. So let's just type in hello world, this is awesome. But see how it's kind of like moving all over the place? And I don't really like that. So let's type lock anchor point and drag that onto our text layer. And then let's align this to the center. So that way everything's dead center. So when we start typing, it should stay there. Now, let's talk through some of the parameters. You can see max W and max H. You can also do what we did before in this tutorial where you assign this to a slider control to give you more control over this, or you can just change these numbers yourself. This basically means if I change ×1, this will be the entire length of the composition width. And if I change the height to 1, that means that it will allow it to stretch all the way up to the top. So if you have one letter, it'll stretch all the way to the top. So I typically like locking this down because if somebody just says one word like the or the, I don't want it to be this big. So you can actually change these parameters. So the height, let's say I only want it to be 20% or like 0.2 of the actual composition height, and I only want it to be 0.8 or like 80% of the width. So now when I type something out, it will only be 80% of the width, no matter how long this is. And now it's time for my most used expression in all of the Mogurts that I've ever created, and that's simply a drop-down selection. Drop-down selections allow you to customize your project and add a different way of selecting specific things that you want. So I'm gonna right click new text, and I'm gonna call this text layer 1, new text, text layer 2, and new text, text layer 3. I'm gonna lock the anchor point on all of these just so it goes to the center, and then make sure they are all aligned as well. So now I have all these text layers, 1, 2, and 3, and I wanna be able to select which layer. You can use drop downs for literally anything, but I'm just gonna show you this example. Go to Effects and Presets and type in Drop Down Menu Control and drag that onto your control layer. I also like typically having my control layer at the top. So now we have this drop down menu and we can name this whatever we want. I'm just gonna call it Select Text and click that down arrow to see the menu. If we drag the menu up into our essential graphics, because we're likely creating a motion graphic, you're gonna click Edit Properties and you can name these whatever you want. You can also add or remove as many as you want. So let's rename these to Text 1, Text 2, and Text 3. All we have to do is go into our text layers and assign our expression. Under drop-down menu, we're gonna highlight everything and copy it. As you can see, we place it on the opacity layer. If drop menu equals the first menu item, then the opacity is set to 100. If else, it's set to 0. Alt or option click on the opacity and paste in that expression that we have. Now we have to change the drop menu change resolution right here to whatever our effect says. So it's select text, just like that. And now we have it for 1. What this means is that since this drop menu equals 1 right here, that means that whenever it's selected on 1, this will be 100%. If anything else, it's set to 0. So that basically means that we can copy this, click T to bring up opacity on text layer 2, paste it in, change the drop menu to 2, click T on text layer 3, Alt or option click opacity, paste it in, change the drop menu to 3. So now, if we go through here, since this is 1, 2, and 3, we can select text 2, we can select text layer 3, and vice versa. You can get really creative with the drop menus. This is my #1 most used expression within After Effects. That's all I have time for today. If you guys want more deep dives on After Effects and motion graphics in general, let me know down in the comments below. As always, hit that like button if you're new. Consider subscribing because I'll be making some more stuff in the future. I'll see you guys next time.